So last night I went to an early screening of the movie Lightyear. They gave away this cool poster. This poster is really cool. It's beautiful art. My only problem is, if you see these aliens here. Now, if you know the Toy Story movies, Andy didn't get these toys till Toy Story 2. And this movie, basically at the beginning of this movie, it states in 1995, Andy watched a movie that got him obsessed with the Buzz Lightyear toy. This was that movie. That's what Lightyear is. How does he have. So, how does this image that's supposed to be him watching the movie in theaters uh, have the aliens? It doesn't make sense timeline wise, but it's a cool piece of art and it's just a cool poster. It's not actually meant to be canon or anything. I just find it funny. Beautiful art though. I was very excited about this movie. This has been my most anticipated Pixar movie. When they announced this movie, I was kind of like, what the hell is this? Because of the fact that, like, let's be real, they've milked the Toy Story franchise. Not in the sense that, like, it's had any bad installments, but 4 did feel like milking a little bit. I still love 4, and it's probably my favorite of the series, but it still felt like milking of the franchise a little bit. So this movie that's here now is when they announced it, I was like, what? And I'm like, this is a weird concept. But the moment I saw trailers for this thing, I was like, man, this looks great. I'm very excited. I know a lot of people were turned off that they didn't have Tim Allen in it. I think that's really stupid because it's not the same freaking character. And if you really want to see Tim Allen do the voice, great. You can go watch 4 other movies. So I do. This movie has more issues than I thought it would. I'm not going to. I'm not going to avoid spoilers in this video. I am gonna warn you before I talk spoilers. So let's just talk about my brief thoughts before we get into it. Um. So like I said, this movie opens with a message that states, in 1995, Andy watched a movie that got him obsessed with the Buzz Lightyear toy. This is that movie, and then you watch the movie. And that creates problems with it. Then I'll get into spoilers, but yeah. Overall, this movie is a good movie. It has a really good character arc for Buzz Lightyear in the movie. The crew and is really good in it. I thought Taika Waititi's character would be very annoying because Taika Waititi seems to be a voice that, while he's a very talented, funny guy, it seems like he's thrown into more things than he probably should be nowadays. But that's fine. He was great in this movie. All the voice acting was great. The animation was beautiful, and yeah, it was just a fun sci-fi movie. And yeah, that's kind of exactly what you'd want from a movie like this. Um, so let's get into spoilers. So like I said with the beginning of the movie, that's where the issues come in. So like the whole movie, Zurg is the villain, which of course it would be. Like what why would they make a Buzz Lightyear movie not with Zurg the villain? That doesn't make any sense. But you get to this point in the movie where Zurg actually um knows who Buzz is, and I thought they were building to a reveal that, oh, he's he's his father, right? Because that's the famous thing from Toy Story 2. But he's not. And I'm like, okay, so why did the toy say that in Toy Story 2? It doesn't make any sense, right? There's a lot of little things in this movie that, if this is the movie that inspired the Toy Story movies, it makes no sense. And that's why I say this movie should have just been its own cool sci-fi movie. And if they wanted to make the character Buzz Lightyear cool, but they shouldn't even reference the Toy Story movies at all. It shouldn't have been involved in that. It just feels weird and bizarre. But it was a good movie, and I really did like it. I was surprised that they had a post-credit scene setting up the villain still alive. I'm like, are you get like? That's very weird because no Pixar movie has ever set up a sequel before. I know people might argue Incredibles, but Incredibles, I would argue the first Incredibles didn't end with a setup for a sequel as much as it was just them like, hey, we're family superheroes, we're gonna fight crime, and then they did, and then the movie ended on that. I think people took it as them setting up a sequel and demanded a sequel, but realistically, that movie did not need a sequel. I'm glad, and I'm sure a lot of people say they're very happy with the sequel. I'm not denying that's cool that we have a sequel, but I'm saying like it wasn't specifically set up that way, so that's really weird. I don't know why they set it up like that. I don't know if we're getting a Lightyear 2. I don't know how well this movie's gonna do because it seems like a lot of people are turned off by this movie. I also have seen a lot of review bombing for this movie for some fucking reason. I don't know, but I would say their best bet is to do a Disney Plus series and continue this franchise because that would be cool to see these characters like Socks and Taika Waititi's character and Buzz. All in it like a series where they're teaming up and going on space missions. That'd be really cool. But exploring different planets, awesome. I'd like to see that. I don't know, but it's a good movie. I just I think the biggest issues with like the movie were like why did they connect it to Toy Story? Also, I guess I will just address the gay kiss thing. The gay kiss thing is actually really insulting in this one specifically because it is kind of relevant to the story. So, in this movie, they get they get marooned on this planet due to a mistake Buzz makes, right? And so he keeps going up into space trying to find a way off this planet. And every time he comes back, everyone ages 4 years. And so you slowly see this girl's life where she has a girlfriend or lover, and they have a child together. And then she kisses. It's literally 1 second long. Blink and you'll miss it. And and it's just like I think it's really insulting in this movie because unlike a movie like Onward where that's not really part of the story, that female cop just says something, she just says a thing about her girlfriend. Is like, okay, this is actually part of the story, right? Because that's how that's something about that character and her relationship and her daughter, and that character is important throughout the movie. And yeah, and I know people will argue why if it's such minor in the movie, why did Disney make a big deal out of it? Did they really make a big deal out of it, or did a bunch of homophobes make the big deal out of it? That's what a lot of this stuff is, right? When it comes to a lot of these like hey, the Disney markets an LGBTQ character. Who usually makes a big deal out of it? Is it the people against it or the people for it? I would argue it's usually the people against it. So I think it was fine. I find it insulting that Disney even tried to remove this. And I thought that we were well past this point with Disney, that they, wouldn't do such horrible like acts like this. It feels like, but I mean, because this wasn't just them like, oh, we're gonna edit it out in China or whatever. No, they try to edit it out here in America, right? And that's I'm very confused about right there. It was very homophobic of them, and I don't know. I feel like we should be moving past this, but we're not. They're and it's very frustrating. But great movie for the most part. Had some issues with it, but nothing that will ever ruin the experience of this movie. It was awesome seeing it at MPX. Looked amazing. Just great.